How we doing?
We're doing, man. It's Friday. We're here. We're doing what we love to do. We got another action-packed DeliveringMore podcast to bring to you viewers and listeners at home, whether you're listening or viewing morning, afternoon, or evening. Please like, share, subscribe, so we can get this as in front of as many eyeballs as humanly possible, so we can bring as much value as humanly possible to the independent contractor and gig industry nation. T, what do we got on the books today?
Well, we got a pretty exciting one on the books today. It's going to be starting off with our first in-person interview with
First timers.
From I don't want to call them outsiders, but just drivers. People who don't work in this office are coming in for an in-person interview. So that is going to be very exciting. One is a very tenured driver. Actually, has been at DeliverThat as a driver longer than I've been an employee, and I've been here for about 3 years. And then the other one hasn't been around as long, but has taken almost as many deliveries as a tenured driver. Very active driver.
Very active.
Excited for that.
Yeah, good. Megan and Penelope is who we got on the books for the interview segment today. Both Northeast Ohio drivers, both stay in the Cleveland area. I think Megan Strongsville, Penny's around the same area, maybe a little further east, I believe, a little closer to Akron possibly. But yeah, they made the trip down to Canton to join us in office, like Tristan said, and it's our first one. So I'm very excited to see how the camaraderie is for an in-person interview. Hopefully much better than the Zoom ones. Yeah, Jim just sent us over a message here. The NEO Dream Team. Yeah, that's what we close out the interview here. They came up with a nickname, or they call it themselves. Is that what they said?
Yeah, the NEO Dream Team.
Yeah, the NEO Dream Team. Which, I mean, realistically, they both, Megan, like you said, has been with us for well over 3 years, and Penny, since she's came on, I believe in summer of 2021. I mean, she's probably been the most active Northeast Ohio driver we have on the platform. So,
and she goes above and beyond.
Yeah. You'll hear how she does go above and beyond as well. So props to them. Thank them so much for coming in. And then we are going to close out the show with another Meet the Team segment. This week we have Vice President of Operations,
Hilty.
Christian Hilty is with us in the building, folks. I would say a lot of people probably know Christian from like the driver tips of the week, the newsletters that go out,
maybe a couple weekend phone calls.
Yeah, a lot of the app updates. Yes, and he does partake in some dispatching on the weekends. He'll hop in if we need him, and he handles a lot of like higher up issues. So if you have a major pay discrepancy or a major innovation you want to see within DeliverThat, he'd probably be someone you've reached out to, you've spoken to over email or phone call in the past. So a good portion of our drivers probably know Christian, but we're happy to introduce him to those who do not.
Yeah, and he's just a very inspiring individual who's climbed the ladders, and you'll hear about it from literally the beginning, from the seed. Really inspiring story. So stick around for it.
Of course. Yeah, I think he's employee number like 5 or 6 in the chronological order of things. So really in the early days of DT, we're talking 2018, about 3 or 4 years on the books now with him at the company. But let's stop all the chitter chatter here and get into the interview with Megan and Penelope.
Let's get after it.
All right, T, we're back in the building. We have maybe, I'll say like the interview I'm probably most excited for at this moment in time, I think, more or less just because it's an in-office interview. It's our first, other than the Meet the Team segments, our first guest in-office interview.
Yeah, first driver in-office interview too, yep.
And we have Megan and Penelope, our Northeast Ohio drivers. How are you guys doing today?
Doing fine, but you should have said the best Northeast Ohio drivers.
Yeah, well, I don't want to exclude
we gotta be careful,
people, but yeah.
I know, we don't want to make anybody jealous.
Some people live close to here, okay?
Yeah, I know.
I thought you were going to say the OG driver. That's what I thought you were going to say.
Oh,
that's a fact.
We did state before the podcast, Megan does outlast Tristan as far as tenure with DeliverThat. So, I mean, she is an OG driver. Penelope, we can get right into the tenure. Do we want to bust out the stats?
Let's
here
do
real
it.
quick?
Let's bust them out.
I think I mentioned this to you guys previously, but we pulled your guys' statistics, just total deliveries and amount of food delivered. Megan, we just spoke We said you started end of 2018, I believe.
Yes, December.
Our stats, unfortunately, only pull from August of 2019.
Okay.
So you probably have a good amount of deliveries predating that. But from August of 2019 to December 21, you've taken 467 deliveries, just over 170,000 in total food cost delivered. So props to you, Megan.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's great to at least hear like some numbers you've been doing with the platform. And then Penelope, you started a little later. Did you start in 2021? You just started?
Yeah, I just started in
It was
June?
summer of
June.
2021.
That's what we got.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have June of 2020. I just wanted to make sure we weren't missing any dates for you.
Nope.
But yeah, so you did your damnedest to try and basically catch Megan in like half the time.
You did a good job.
You've done 334 total deliveries, just over, I believe, 145,000 in total food costs delivered.
and you've been doing it twice as long as I have.
That makes me look like I'm slower, but I do other stuff.
Well, yeah.
Well, no, you have children that you're taking care of and everything like that. So we're very understanding, and you take what you can.
Well, I don't know if we're understanding, but
Right.
Yeah. And it's just little old me, and I don't have anything better to do, so I stay up 24 hours.
Well, we
a
love
day.
to have you.
Waiting for orders.
Waiting for orders to come through.
It was funny because when she first started, I was, they were coming in. A lot of times the orders come in at 2 or 4 in the afternoon,
Right.
and she would miss them. And she'd be like, "Do you like have to take this in the shower?" And I go, "I literally have it on the windowsill,
That's
just
how
in case any
that's
come
how
in."
dedicated she is.
And so I would say, "You got to be ready when they come in." So I was like, "I'll have it right by my shower, the windowsill." I said, "Yeah," and she was like,
Whatever
"Oh,
it
you're for
takes.
real, right?"
Oh, you're for real. I see you guys are pretty good at grabbing those quick. It's super competitive, like very
Right,
competitive.
Yeah, but you're a millennial.
This is true. It's both a blessing and a curse to
Right.
be a millennial, I guess.
I think we're all millennials, right? I think.
Yeah, with the exception of me.
You're
Yeah,
a
right.
boomer.
I'm a
You look like a millennial.
I look like one.
Yeah,
but
you look
I'm
like a
not.
millennial.
Right.
Let's dive into the conversation a little
Yeah.
bit here and get the backstory of you two and kind of your beginnings with DeliverThat and maybe even the gig economy itself, because I know off camera here we're touching on how you guys met and then got started on DeliverThat. So what was your guys' beginnings in the gig industry, other platforms, DeliverThat beginnings, and all that good stuff?
So I worked prior to this call centers for about 12 to 15 years, and it ended with Progressive. So basically it was the equivalent of like I couldn't take it anymore being on the phone. And so I left Progressive at the beginning of December of 2018, and
Are we saying those Flow commercials did not help your job? Is that
We're saying
I
it did not.
actually loved Flow, and like the whole Progressive itself was great. It was a great company to work for, but by the time I got there, I was like ruined already because I had been on the phones for so long, and I did like it felt like 10 years, but it was 10 months at Time Warner, and so that was like,
Right.
it was like being in prison.
Horrible-
So by the time I got to
horrible waste.
Progressive, I just couldn't handle
cable's
it.
tough.
Yes, and so like you would think when people are calling. When I first started out doing telemarketing, it was like you kind of expect to get yelled at if you're calling to sell people stuff, but I didn't expect it on the customer. And so towards the end, I just kind of gave it right back, and they don't like that. So so I left, and my brother-in-law at the time was doing DoorDash, and they had a big promotion where if you got somebody hired, you got $750.
Wow.
So
Love
we
it.
did that, and we split it. So as I tell you, the second I delivered the 150th order, like the 750 hit his bank account. It was
Wow.
nuts. So he called me. I was in the middle of Medina. I remember what house I was at, and I was like, this was great. So then like 2 weeks after I started DoorDash, I found this. I was on Indeed. You guys had like a little ad, and I was like, oh, this is basically the same thing I'm doing, but the bags were bigger. So I
Right.
started doing that. So then I was doing that and DoorDash for a long time. And then I found Shipped the summer of 2019. And so Shipped kind of switched to be the primary for me. And so I run Shipped and you guys at the same time.
Point pickup.
And Point Pickup. Well, that's Point Pickup.
Shipped is like more grocery delivery.
So yeah, so Shipped is Target owned Shipped. So it's
Okay.
mainly shopping orders for people at Target, and then a bunch of the Giant Eagles, you just pick up the groceries and deliver them.
Right.
They're already shopped.
Gotcha.
So
Perfect.
Oh, you don't have to shop.
you're not at Giant Eagle, only
Oh,
at Target. And
okay.
so that brings us to Penny, because during the height of the pandemic, I was at Target every day.
Yeah, and she was
Mhm.
making like a ton of money.
Ton of money because nobody was shopping, everybody was scared to go out, and
Yeah.
I was there like fearless, I'm like I'm gonna go out because my husband got furloughed almost right away. So I was like, okay, so we had to kind of switch positions. I'm like, well, this ship money is easy at this point. So
Mhm.
she was checking me out and she was like, how much do you make doing this? And I said, well, before this, maybe about, 500 or so a week, but now I'm at like 1,000 a week. 2 weeks later, about that, she quit Target and she was with me.
Yeah. And before I retired from like 30-year career in broadcast news, journalism, nonprofit solicitation, kind of raising monies and things like that. So I just kind of got burned out doing that and didn't have anything to do. So I took that job at Target.
Yeah.
Was there like not a long time. And I've met Megan and the rest is history. So I've been doing this instead. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we did ship exclusively for probably about a year. And then just the beginning of the last summer, ship was slowing down because the pandemic had calmed down a little at that point. And so more people were going out. So their orders slowed down significantly. So we're like, what else can we do? She was like, we're not making as much as it was. And I said, well, try DeliverThat, because I said I deliver for this catering company all the time. And that kind of subsidizes when ship goes down. I said, and we're going into, wedding season, all that. In the summer I go, and that kind of stuff's, kind of being allowed again. So this is summer of 2021. And so that's when she came on.
I have to tell you a funny story about that because you mentioned doing catering deliveries. I thought you were actually going home and baking stuff.
That's what you thought at first?
Then I found out she doesn't cook.
That's, I feel like, maybe like a common misconception though, like with the catering industry though, people like really don't understand like what it actually, until like as of the pandemic and everything, and the off-premise side of like restaurants and like getting food order kind of is brought to light a little bit more. But I think a lot of people were probably in the same boat like 3 years ago. If you're like, hey, I'm delivering catering orders, they're like what do you mean a catering? Or like you're going and making this food and taking it to a wedding, and are you serving it to people? Are you staying for the 4-hour event?
I've been asked that, like, do you guys stay and serve? And I, and anytime somebody's like, when I'll come to some companies, because a lot of times like it's like they're like, are you with DoorDash? And I'm always like, no, it's DeliverThat, and I point to the bag now because I have our bags.
So they don't think? Do they think ever that you work for the restaurant?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, a lot of the time. Yeah. Especially with Old Carolina, especially when you go to like the weddings and stuff. They think you're like, sometimes they think you're there to serve too, and it's like, no, I'm just here. You go.
No, I'm sorry.
I'm out.
That's not me. So no, that is a big misconception.
We've done that a couple times actually.
I know they have said that has happened, but I've never been on one where I was
very
very
per
rarely.
need basis.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I can't believe
it was good pay though.
I did.
You never told me that. That's so funny.
I know. And the funny thing is that like, Megan and I have become good friends during the course of all this. I mean, like we hang out together, and even though she's a lot younger. Yeah. But
we can't tell.
I know.
No.
I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, and we just have a blast. And I got to know Megan, and I realized she doesn't know how to cook.
I don't. I cook like 3 things.
So this woman's never baking. What is she doing?
She can't. I mean,
my friends who hear this are gonna crack up because they know I can make like 3 things. I can make like spaghetti, which the kids are sick of. I can bake like Betty Crocker cookies. That's it.
Hamburger helper.
Peanut butter jelly.
Yes, I made that this morning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's so funny. No, they wouldn't want anything if I made it and brought it.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
That is funny.
I know you're gonna edit all this part out, so
keep that part in.
We'll keep it all. We'll say we're gonna edit it, but we're not gonna.
Okay.
People like the authenticity. They do.
Well, we're pretty authentic.
We are. We are.
But going down that road, we were talking about how sometimes they think that you guys are maybe work for the restaurant, or they think you're DoorDash. How do you guys feel that customers feel about third-party delivery? Like for you, do you think they are used to it now after the pandemic?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, most of the time they're happy, to see us, except if we're exceptionally late because.
Yeah, most of the time they're just like, I'm always like, what's, they'll say, are you DoorDash? And I'll say, no, it's not DoorDash. It's like, I always say it's better than DoorDash because it's DeliverThat. It's catering. So it's like, we bring it to you and they're like, oh, you're not from whatever restaurant. I'm like, no, it's actually, we're third party. We pick it up and come set it up. And I always tell them that's the difference. I say, we set it up for you. Whereas if it was DoorDash, I'd just be like,
for sure.
Go.
Here you go.
That's a good clarification, though.
That is what I usually do to clarify.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I've been to a number of restaurants, and there've been a lot of DoorDash people or Uber.
Yeah, it's I've had an experience too. I don't know if I should even make this public, but I took a Papa Euros in Alliance one time, and I was there, and this woman was there picking up a different delivery, I believe, for like DoorDash or Uber Eats. I imagine she had like I don't care how people look. I'm like it is what it is, but she had like a bright tie-dye shirt on, like capri sweatpants, like flip-flops, like hair was all like frazzled and not put together. And I legitimately took a picture at the time. I don't feel great about it because it's like exploiting people. But I took a picture and like
Did you post it?
yeah, well, I sent it to our team's like Slack channel. It was like, yo, like this is our competition. Like,
I think I saw that when we had Slack.
it was, I don't know if it was to the driver Slack channel. It was to like the in-house channel. But yeah, but I was just like, this is our competition. Like this is what we're going up against.
I remember we.
He was right though. He was right. You know.
Yeah,
it's true.
I mean, I've seen guys that are doing, DoorDash or whatever. They come in and like they have like stains all over their sweatshirts.
And that's how
It's
easy
tough.
it is to set yourself apart, you know,
Yeah.
and that's the kind of drivers that we have that end up building relationships with restaurants and getting their deliveries over and over again because they show up very simple things. They set the delivery up, they show up presentable, they're friendly,
Yeah.
and then they continue to receive those deliveries and it's that easy to set yourself apart, make that much more money.
Yes, for sure. I think that's what happened with. They'd see us walk in and they'd be like, "You," and you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I'm like, "Hi." So that is definitely the difference. I know when we used to have it where there were lead drivers.
Yeah.
So the one lady I sent a picture of was like, she showed up in flip flops and like pajamas, and I was like, and one of you was like, "Tell her to go home," and I was like, I didn't know I could do that, so she like walked in the building with me, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's
Tell her to
it's
go
an
home.
odd
That had to be
situation
Ben.
though.
Yeah, I think it
because
was Ben. I think he
You
was like,
don't-
"Tell her to go home," and I was like, I didn't know I could tell her to go home.
You
And
don't
I was,
necessarily want to be like the tattletale or like the
No.
like tell on people, but it's like we do have a standard. So
Yeah.
like if it realistic, like you said it was me that told you to send her home. Is that-
somebody, it might have been Ben. Somebody said
it might have been.
it was whoever was kind of like in charge of the lead drivers, and I had 3 ride-alongs, and 2 of them were fine, and then there was this lady, and I was like, I sent a picture to the Slack chat, and somebody was like, "Tell her to go home," and I was like, "Well, she's following me there. I don't know."
I don't know that situations usually happen that we send the drivers home, but we have scenarios where like restaurants will reach out and be like, "Hey, like this person's not taking my food." Like
For sure.
Oh, like we'll have restaurants call in and be like, "We can't allow her to show up to this business office and what she's wearing." Whether
Right.
obviously it's appropriate outside of this work term, but like
Yeah.
inside of our little bubble, it's something we don't really accept or try not to.
I think that's part of how we started with being so close to the Strongsville guys, because I had to run and pick up an order. I was at Target doing a shipped order. One of you called me and was like, Old Carolina won't release it. Who just showed up? Can you go get it? It's going to the hospital. And they were like, whatever. And I was like, oh, yeah. So I ran over, and it was Alan, I think. And he was like, okay. I was
That's
like, thank
wild.
God you're here. I'm like, yeah. So
You ever get reports back from the restaurants that we've delivered to about?
So it's, I would say that like what I always say is it's especially like even like the culture of like nowadays with like social media and everything, you hear way more and way easier to report all the negative and the bad things than any of the good things, right? So like
That's
it's almost,
unfortunate. Because
it is unfortunate, but it's almost like a scenario where like no news is good news. So like if you don't get a call from the restaurant, if you don't get an email, if you don't have a follow-up about it, it's like, okay, that must have went as it was expected to go.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's always a battle too, as well. Since that's all you really only hear about the negative, to know that it actually is being successful. If the drivers are doing a great job, just all the feedback we get is
Right.
mostly the negative.
It's you almost get tunnel visioned about it too as well, because like he said, like the only feedback we do get is a lot of times like the negative feedback. So like we're doing thousands and thousands of deliveries, but you only hear about the ones that go bad or go awry in some capacity. So you're like, wait, are all our deliveries like going like this? In reality, it feels that way, but like,
like
in
0.1%.
actuality, it's literally less than 1% of the deliveries that actually things go bad on. So it's tough.
Yeah.
But I want to get into our next question. We kind of want to get some insights into you guys as drivers. We already discussed like your Shipped, DeliverThat, DoorDash, and all the other platforms. What, as veteran drivers, do you guys like look for in a delivery as far as like mileage from your home, payouts, gratuities, order costs? Are there specific things you guys are looking for on your end to really make sure these deliveries are worth your time?
All of the above. The biggest one I look for is probably gratuity. The main things other than gratuity are mileage. So with the gas prices going up, I try and stay around Strongsville. So I live on
right up the road, right.
So, and like the condados, bippity bops, everything in Strongsville, I'll kind of do. But to go further away, and like what?
Also an experience you've had at the restaurant itself.
Yeah, that's what I was
For
wondering.
instance,
that's a great
for instance, there's
insight.
been, times that I've delivered from, I'm not going to,
Yeah.
some places that you end up walk in, you're supposed to pick up at 11 o'clock and get there 10 minutes early and they haven't started the order.
Yeah.
And I've waited, I
Right.
think at one extreme, I waited for an hour to, to that up and deliver it. And it was a big order. And then I ended, and when that happens, if we have other deliveries on different platforms, we run into trouble because then we have to cancel those. And so we're making less money having to wait if the food is.
I'd say that's one of the other biggest things is how I can work it around. I know that area too. I don't like to go where I don't know where I am.
For sure. Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah,
so like
stay familiar.
I've only done a couple orders out of the Old Carolinas here. One here and one in Ridgewood because I just don't know the area. But if it's
enough money will get any driver anywhere. I'll
Right.
tell you.
Exactly.
Seriously.
That's true.
Yeah, I think both of you have came down to Old Carolina and Everhard right over here in Belden a few times. If you see like a $50 tip, you're like, yeah, why not?
I did one out of here. I did one out of this one, and then I've gone to Ridgewood a few times.
Yeah, the one in Akron, right?
Yeah. So
that's a trip for you. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Me too.
For instance, for me to get to Stowe, and I deliver it out of that, and I deliver out of the Ridgewood. Ridgewood isn't bad. I live closer to 77.
Yeah, it's about 45 for
so
me.
It's 25 minutes down to Ridgewood and that whole Fairlawn area, and about the same amount to get over to Beechwood, places like that. So I'm flexible to go either way, and the same with Macedonia. But I mean it's.
So Penny,
yes.
I wanted to ask you this too because you guys were saying you look for gratuity and commission, but Penny, I'm not gonna lie, I've seen you out there delivering Old Carolinas that don't have tips on them before. But what drives you to do that? You're just out there doing something, or
because I'm just such a.
That's what I mean. I was gonna say you're just a trooper.
I say you're
like,
better
I'll still
than
take
me.
it. I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
all right.
No, I mean, well, here's the thing about those type of deliveries. In the past 6 months or 7 or 8 months, I've been doing this. I mean, I've really gotten to know a lot of the staff at all the Old Carolina barbecues.
Oh, I've had those phone calls.
And I've turned them around, actually.
She has.
I have. Yeah. So I'll do it to help them out. I mean, I will get, they have my personal cell phone number. And if they're in a bind, even though there's no tip, and I'll say, can you come? And I say, yeah. And I'll go down and do it. And it's just because if I treat them with respect, they'll treat me.
For sure.
And I think that's important.
Yeah, and what happens the next time they get a delivery that has a $60 tip on it? They'll call you and be like, hey, Penny, we're about to submit this delivery. Make sure you get it.
Right.
I mean, there you go.
And here's the other thing about the no tips is that sometimes, especially during the summer when there's like big barbecues or whatever, and wedding,
they'll tip in cash.
They'll tip in cash. And so I've like walked into a situation where the commission was probably $18 and left with $100 bill because
that's a good day.
Yeah, it's a good day. And because I take the time, and this is a tip that you can give other drivers, is to take the time when you're setting up to make sure that everything is there and that you go over everything with whoever it is that did the actual purchase for the reception or for this, that. They're grateful for that instead of just like, yep, there's the food. See ya. Bye.
Yeah. And that speaks to the point, though. One thing that we've realized over the years is that the power of pre-authorized gratuity, the tip already being on there, usually provides you a higher quality driver, and the process is usually pretty smooth because a lot of people don't want to rely on not having a gratuity. Do you guys find yourself like just relying on the customer to tip at the drop off that often?
No, not really. I mean,
during the summer, if it's like we did that one wedding together. And so like, a lot of times, cash tip on delivery. That's always good.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. If they let you know
that's
the
great.
instructions,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we don't know how much, but
we don't know how much.
And they can tip you based on your performance. Then, if they don't feel comfortable just putting it on there, but at least tell them so they won't take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, in the summer I will take ones more that don't have a tip just because there's a better chance of parties.
Graduation parties, right?
Actually, I know the one that orders proper pig.
Yes.
Always, they will always.
I've delivered for them.
They don't
Have
submit
you?
all that
Yes.
often, but they're very
First of all, those guys are the nicest.
Yeah,
I
they're
mean,
great.
What's his name? Tommy.
Tommy?
I don't know the actual
Tommy's
owner's
always
name.
high. That's why he's
No, you can't say that.
Oh.
Oh my God.
Hey, you can
Retake.
say it.
That's right.
Cut.
Retake.
Hey,
Cut.
it's just an observation. It's a simple observation.
It's not. What is wrong
Oh,
with
man.
you? I'm red for you.
Oh man,
That was great.
That's awesome.
That was great.
I'm just being candid.
No. Edit
Yeah,
that out.
it's-
Oh my gosh.
it's an
Let's
observation.
Well, they won't ask me.
We'll let
they'll
Tommy
ask
come
you.
on the podcast. He can speak for himself.
Yeah. Tommy will give you your own chance.
Actually, Tommy will probably think it's funny.
He probably would. I didn't observe that with him, but no, Tommy from
he's very nice.
From the Proper Pig's always nice, and their orders seem to almost always have tips. So I don't know if sometimes I feel bad because I think they think they're tipping the restaurant and not us because they'll make $2,000 worth of food and then give a $100 tip and it all goes to us.
But they make hourly wages too. You know. It's an argument that we have because we've had issues with that before where they thought it was going to the restaurant or maybe the restaurant thought it was coming to them,
or they think that we're being paid by the restaurant and
right.
that we're getting that tip from the restaurant.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, that's true.
And that's happened to me too. I mean, now, are you getting paid by the restaurant?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
no. We can. I mean, I'm okay with getting into that, but yeah, we have contractual agreements. Yeah, we charge the restaurant a per delivery fee. Half that, I think, like maybe over half that goes to the driver. We keep whatever to increase our revenue, and then it goes from there. And then all the drivers get 100% of gratuity.
Right.
And obviously, with Easy Cater, you got the tip pool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we never were really happy about that.
It's like a double-edged sword because
it is,
sometimes it's especially around Christmas time they were running like what 25.
Yeah, it got up there.
$28.
It's
so
nice
like,
at that time.
It's like give me all the Easy Cater orders,
right.
but then you get into January and February and it's like here's $7. So,
but you got to think as we scale as a company, if we continue, we can see how the tip pool will scale. So maybe it will continue to scale higher because
the more deliveries, the higher the tip pool. And
that is true.
Yeah.
Now, maybe because we've always discussed this about whether or not the tip pool is that Easy Cater have is for a certain market, or is it like nationally?
It's national, yeah.
So it's any place in the
every
United
single
States,
every
and
single
all that
Easy
money goes
Cater
into a big pot, and then they do
every single Easy Cater delivery DeliverThat takes the gratuities put into a pool, and then you're given one share per Easy Cater delivery you take.
So it's not like Ohio has their own.
Nope.
Okay, that's what I always wondered.
That would be kind of unfair for their metros, I think, but 40% of it goes to my bank account. So no.
Well, that's only fair.
No wonder there's a Jaguar out in the parking lot.
There's definitely not a Jaguar in that parking lot.
Oh my gosh,
I wish.
That's funny. No, yeah, it's you got to watch with the. Well, it's just some weeks it's high and some it's low.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Well, you're especially like when you started in 2018, like you're saying, the tip pool was like $10.
It was always it was around. So I started. It was Christmas, so it was a little higher, and then I didn't realize. So that's the one thing I didn't realize is that it was a pool, and they've changed this now, and that's probably for the best because you used to
listed the tip.
It used to see what the tip was.
Yeah.
And so,
that caused us a lot of headaches.
I bet it did because one that was like I think it was in February, so I'd only been here like a month and a half, and I did this order, and then I got it, and it was like $17, and I was like, no, the tip was $67, and you guys were like, no, that's the pool, and that's when it all came.
Yeah, that's literally exactly why we changed.
Like,
that's when you, as like the person on the phone, like you understand like the reasoning behind doing it, but then you're also like, yeah, but we showed it to them, and it was really hard for us at that point.
When that went away, I was like, that's probably better. But then at the same time, it's like if it's a home delivery with Easy Cater, I wish we could know if they did tip or not, because then I would be like, oh, well, there's still a chance they're going to get there. You know what I mean? Like if it's like I live in Strongsville, so Condado sometimes was delivering graduation parties last year, and they were cash. I was like, oh, they probably didn't tip anything. No, because it's all season.
Yeah. Then you got the tip pool and the cash. You just double dipped.
That's a good day.
thing.
It is a good day.
Yeah.
But before we get off of the subject of the tip pool, just one thing for everybody listening, and maybe for you guys too. One thing that drivers often think because of a tip pool is that we take the gratuities. You know what I mean? Like new drivers, people who've never, a lot of places. No, I don't know if any other company does a tip pool.
Right.
So very clear to everybody, we do not take any of the gratuities. 100% of it gets split up for the drivers, and that's why it varies every week because it depends how much money goes into it.
Right. That's what the pool means. People think that you're taking part of it.
Well, we've been accused by newer drivers in general, like, hey, well, you guys are taking it, I want to work here. I want to work.
No, we know that.
No,
I don't think you guys think that, but just for all the listeners.
It'd probably be more of like a third-party delivery reputation too, right? Like you've had like lawsuits with like DoorDash and like Uber Eats,
and that's
like
why,
there's always been these like accusations where they're like subsidizing wages based on tips and things like that.
Well,
so like you'll have, like he said, it's never like I would say once a tenured driver, like they take like a good amount of deliveries and they see the paycheck with the tip pool, they're like, oh, okay, this makes sense. But like when a new driver, like you said, you take one delivery, you see a $7 commission, and then you get paid like $21, whatever the minimum tip pool right now, I think is like $14.
Yeah.
So they're like, wait, like you advertise a $30 average pay. It's like,
Right.
well,
oh, that could be true.
you know, so then like things get convoluted and then it's like mixed messaging and misunderstanding. It's like, and then that's when like the fingers start pointing. It's like, well, where'd my tip go? You took my tip. Who has my tip? And it's like, no, you got exactly what everyone else got.
Right. It definitely helps to not see. I think that's, you know, I understood what the word pool meant, but I guess it didn't click with me until it happened that time.
Right.
Because I was coming off of Christmas. And then I remember whoever I talked to, they were like, remember in the video? And I was like, oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, right.
Well, the
That
tip pool.
is the other thing too, though, that like when these people do complain, like all of this is said in the onboarding process. So like we talk about our policies for cancellation, we talk about the tip pool, we talk about the dress code, or like the upheld standards, if you want to refer to it a little more properly. But yeah, so I mean, then like when people try to combat you and combat it, it's like, well,
shouldn't be any surprises.
right?
No,
Like why?
right
Like what do you
there.
like? Where's the misunderstanding? We already told you all.
I
this.
think you guys are
Yeah.
the most transparent. I'll
Yeah.
say that
I-
because
Yeah, I will agree
Flip
with
it.
that.
Flip it.
Yep.
Flip it.
they definitely, because like a couple of the other platforms that I work for, you had to find out the hard way when the orders dropped. For some reason, that's a secret. So
Mhm.
like you don't know that you have to literally be on your phone at 6 a.m. or you're gonna miss.
Right.
And nobody tells you that during. It's not in the videos. It's not
Right,
anywhere.
right.
And so
One
it's,
of the platforms now.
one of them's
randomly,
random
like,
hours because they're saying
5
they're
o'clock
trying
in the
to.
morning.
They're saying they're trying to combat the bots, whatever that means. So they are trying to
The old
Release-
auto acceptors.
the auto
auto
acceptors.
acceptors,
Yeah.
right.
So, but like when I first started with the one, it was like
Yeah,
I had-
Penny's got one. No, I'm
Yeah,
just
I
kidding.
do.
Right. We talked about when it was at one point last year. She was like, "How do I get a bot? Can we get though? Can we get that?"
It's
I might
tough.
have some insight.
Yeah, that's actually
it's,
what Megan gave me,
there's
a
some
keychain
inside
with a-
track.
I
The
did. I gave
keychain
her
of
a
a
keychain
robot.
with a robot on it. So like
Full
that's our
disclaimer, we do
joke.
not give out bots. But anyway,
Yes. I know you don't. So
Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely, you guys are definitely one of the most like transparent. Like this, and this. You don't have to find out for yourself.
and
It's
you know the other thing I like about
appreciated.
DeliverThat is that you know the personal contact between you guys and the drivers. For
Yeah,
the mo-
that it's
for the most part.
local. Any of the other
And-
apps, you're texting or you're
Well,
or you
but,
don't
like,
even get a
don't-
response
or like for instance, point pickup. You can never talk to a human being.
ever.
I mean,
Mhm.
you could be in the middle of like, I've got 50 bags of groceries here, and the person's not answering the door.
And they're on fire.
What do you want me to do?
Oh, who cares?
And they say, well, I don't know. And you have to like discuss this with a
bot.
bot,
Yeah.
actually. And they give you all these set of, is your problem like with this, or this? No. Is your problem with this, or this? No.
They're pre-questions. Like
Yeah.
you can't.
Yeah. Well,
No, they'll call you only
Oh,
if
yeah.
you're running
it'd just
late.
be like our Zendesk bot that we're setting up now, basically.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Well, no. So let's be very
Don't
clear.
get Penny started. No bots.
Our-
guys.
It's like for information. It would never
Oh.
be for live support.
Oh, okay.
Our live support will never go anywhere.
Yeah,
That's-
we'll have somebody on the phones for you guys all the time. But you said, Penny, before we started the interview, sometimes it's hard to get a hold because there's so many calls.
Right.
That's why those companies do that when they have thousands of deliveries in a metro. But we want to scale a different direction. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate that.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of been like the defining like thing of DeliverThat. Realistically,
Mhm.
I think that's what makes our platform that much different than a lot of the platforms. Like
Definitely.
you have someone, whether you had a good experience like we talked about earlier and you just want to talk about it, or you had an absolutely terrible experience, you can literally text someone, give them your feedback. We relay that feedback to the partner immediately,
Mhm.
and it's all hashed out instead of going through all this, garbage just to try and get all that done.
So this is something Megan and I have discussed before, is that the one, I shouldn't say an issue, but one thing that wish could be scattered out a little bit, because all the jobs will be pick up at 10:35
Mhm.
All the
and
times.
drop off at the same time. And so that really pretty much limits how many orders we can get, during the day. Sometimes I've been fortunate to be breakfast,
Mhm.
Right.
midday lunch, and maybe a couple of other orders in
Yeah,
the
it'd be
afternoon.
easier to stack them if they weren't
Yeah.
all at the same
For
time.
sure. Yeah, that's
We're-
a concern we hear a lot.
Yeah, and I think we're limited too in that capacity. I think all companies are limited in that capacity to the point of when does the customer order the food for?
Yeah,
right.
they all
And
want
how
it
long
at
is it
the
going to
same
take to
time.
get there? And yeah, everybody orders lunch, for their
Right.
businesses and stuff. And you see dinners here and there, like you said, and
Mhm.
breakfasts, but
Yeah.
just the majority of the deliveries are at lunchtime. So I think the real solution to that is just going to be more volume. So then you have more doubles, more triples, more back-to-back deliveries, things like
Right.
that. So,
Right. Which would help a lot.
mhm.
Yeah. Or just finding the volume, like you guys just said, on the off hours, getting more breakfast volume, getting more delivery volume. Like we said, like someone who operates on Uber Eats or DoorDash, you can probably wake up at 7 a.m. and work till 3 p.m. just on that platform.
Sure.
On the
Yeah.
DeliverThat platform, it's way harder to get that consistency from an all-day work frame.
Yeah, I
So
think
that's
true.
something we talk about a lot here. We're trying to source heavier volume at breakfast, heavier volume at dinner, so that people can join the platform, and you
That would
can
be
just
great.
be a DeliverThat
yeah,
driver,
it'd
and
be
you don't
great.
have to worry about anything else.
Yeah, and we've talked about that before. I mean, it just crazy. I think one day I looking at it and like you had same. I think it was during the holidays, but all the same day, orders that came in, and they were all like 40. There were like 18 of them, all at the exact same time.
Sometimes I wish, like, by the time I've tossed them out,
Sooner
thinking,
not
oh,
Fair's.
I'm not going to go to Fairview Park, but then 3 more will come in that would have worked, and I'm like, oh, I would have.
Yeah, but you didn't know they were going to come in.
Yes.
Right.
So I don't know.
Oh,
That
yeah.
might be something to look into in the future, like hold them and release them, until
In
you can
blocks.
bundle them yourself. Because like
For
a lot
sure.
of companies are doing bundles, like Shipped. I'll get
Yep.
people who live within a few streets of each other bundled. So I would be able to do that easier. Like, oh, here's 2 bundles that work together, and then you have 4
Yeah,
orders.
and then you just know the trip you're making is worth your
Worth
time.
it.
Yeah,
Right. So I
exactly.
won't turn on the other apps. Yeah.
And all I'll say is, can't disclose too much, but we're heading in a good direction.
Okay, good.
Oh,
That's
So-
good to hear.
There's some things in the work that should hopefully alleviate a lot of the issues we're touching.
That's
Good.
That's encouraging.
That is encouraging.
Yes.
Yeah, for
We're
sure.
young, We're
Right.
young.
I know you
We're
are.
kind of like, adolescent, maybe.
I mean, technically, it's so 6 years old right now as a company. So
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
Okay,
fine.
we're toddlers.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, we just got out. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
4 years off the terrible twos. So, I mean,
Terrible.
Right.
Those
there
hurt.
we go.
let's. I wanna jump back a little bit too. I know Megan, you touched on deliveries, like having the wait times and not being able to get back home to your family and your kids and things like that. And what does the gig economy help for you guys to like alleviate some of the 9 to 5 like work-life balance that you would have to juggle like at your old job, or Penny at your old job, when
Yeah.
you have to be in an office from
Oh,
8
yeah.
a.m. to
Yeah.
4 p.m. And now you can basically wake up. If you don't have a job, you say, hey, let me turn on the app. Let me see if I can make a quick 50, $7,500. If I can, I can. If I can't, I'll go about
Literally,
my day.
yeah.
So like,
That's,
is there?
that's exactly why we do this.
That's literally what I do. Like it's so funny. I think back, like my only regret is not doing this way sooner.
Right.
I used to
Yeah.
sit at my desk at like Progressive or call centers 8 hours a day, and then for a long time I did 4 10s just so I could have days off, and I would just sit there and stare at the pictures of my family, like wonder what they're doing right now while
Yeah.
I'm stuck here.
Yeah, it gives you a lot more freedom and
Yes.
flexibility.
It's-
I mean,
it's
to be able to
ama-
do what you do when you.
Absolutely. It's amazing, and that was the main goal for me. It was like after I left Progressive when I was just starting with you guys, I was also working in a mail room because I'm like, okay, I can't be on the phone anymore, but I can open the mail. How hard is that? So at that point we were going into the summer and my kids were still young enough where I would need a sitter. And so I told my husband, we're going to pay her half of what I make if I stay at this mail room and leave. And that was like the biggest decision probably ever, because I was like, right then I only had you guys, and then I had just started and I had just found Shipped, and like maybe 2-3 months into it I was like, I'm making more than I ever did. And
Right.
you factor in the point that my babysitter had went part-time, so it was just like crazy.
Yeah, it
The
was a big
amount of money
money.
was crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah.
So-
I mean, but that was during the heyday of the.
No, this was in
this
the
is
summer of
before?
2019. So I
Oh,
left
okay.
the mail room and I had them, and even though you guys were just newer then, there was still enough orders where I could work all morning. I would be like, guys, and then I would Shipped, and it was just like the way it worked. I was making, so I was at the mail room. I was making like $800 every 2 weeks, and then I was suddenly making like $700, and so that was
For
crazy.
sure.
Right. And then so that was, so flexibility and money are definitely the main factors for me. Yeah.
Yeah. What you have anything to elaborate on there, Penny?
Oh, as far as what, the flexibility of the schedule?
Yeah, well, like, what does it alleviate any other issues like that Megan didn't touch on? Anything? Obviously, you said
just
you're
like-
kind of retired previously,
Yeah,
so
I mean, no, it's just it's like I said, it's just the pure flexibility of it. Now, if I know I have something coming up, I can plan around that and just like not.
Like your
accept
birthday
it.
week.
Yes, like my birthday
Yeah.
week.
Your birthday
Yay.
week
Yeah,
off.
There
Yeah.
you go.
birthday week.
It
That
is-
was big.
Yeah, I'll never forgive you, but yeah.
Yeah, I never forget. Oh, for that
For not working all week.
for that Macedonia job.
No, just for not working all week.
For that whole week.
Yeah, but you remember the Macedonia job? The one I woke up and they called me and said,
"Oh, yes, they do."
Yeah, can you get up? I said, I'm in bed.
That's like the biggest, like, to not have a boss is like amazing. To not be like,
exactly.
hey, I need this week off. Hey, I need to be off
Right.
an hour early. It's like,
And they'll say, no,
just
you
do what I
can't
want.
do it
Yeah,
because
just make
somebody
your own
else already
decisions.
asked for it to be off. So,
Right. Like, all these people who, like, work for themselves and come, I've known people like that all my life, and it's like, be great. And now it's like, oh, that's me now.
Right.
I just
That's
work what I
amazing.
want. Yeah.
That's what we encourage people to do. Just kind of think of it like their own business. We just want to
That's how I-
we just want to be a resource. That's all.
Yeah.
You run the show when you're out there in the field. That it's you.
Yep.
Just do a good job. But we don't want to look bad. But you
Right.
run it. You know what I
Right.
mean?
And that's
It's you.
exactly how I look at it. Like,
yeah, and I think, just as a tip for beginning drivers or people getting started, I think it's, getting back to the customer service part, as far as an image that we create, is that if you go the extra mile for some of these people, they will really appreciate it, as far as like your deliveries go. I mean, in terms
Right.
of like, they forgot this at the store. Well, I can run back and get it for you.
Right.
And like times that barbecue sauce is missing or something like that. And if
from
it's
a barbecue order.
yeah, from a
You're like-
barbecue order. And
I know. That's always
Right.
very odd.
Hello.
yeah, and it's one of those things
Classic.
that, if it's close enough and I don't have something else that I know that I have to get to real soon, I will do that.
Yeah.
And they say, wow, nobody else would do that for us.
The difference.
That's the
what we'll
difference.
say. Yeah.
Right.
I think that's what we hear the most is missing utensils, sauces.
Yeah, utensils for sure.
But
Plates.
more than anything we hear now ever since the pandemic is just restaurant delays are just, way more than they used to be just because of staffing. I don't know what it is.
I think every
Right.
restaurant that we deliver out of has short staff. I mean, the Ridgewood Old Carolina Barbecue is only running Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Right.
Because they can't get anybody to work.
Feel
Yeah,
bad
it's
for
very
them.
I do.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, it's terrible. But, I don't know if there's an easy solution to that.
That's a good point. Well, to kind of like wrap things up here, I wanted to ask you guys, Penny, you've taken so many deliveries in such a short amount of time. And, Megan, you're a very tenured driver now. Do you guys have any tips and tricks for the, other newer drivers out there, any drivers who are looking for some? Because you both have taken very large orders by yourselves too. And I don't think all the drivers are confident to do those things. Do you have any tips and tricks on how you do that or how you deliver in general?
I mean, as far as taking a large order in particular, how do we figure that
Yeah,
out?
like you've taken huge orders just by yourself.
Yeah, I have. I mean, and Megan got in my car today and said, "I don't know how you fit all these in here," because I have a
Roof rack.
right. I mean, I have a hatchback, and fortunately, it really does have a lot of cubic
That was a
feet.
genuine.
I
in
look
the
back and I'm like, where are you fitting like a $2,000 order in here?
I've
But she
taken-
does it.
I've taken $5,000
That's what she
orders
said.
in there.
She just brings a trailer.
She the one thing she taught me was, and she gave me one. She used a wagon.
Yeah.
So before I
Yeah.
was like taking all these trips and all these bags, and so that's been a game changer.
Are you using it?
I am when it's a
Such
big
a
order.
consistent tip, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gotta
It's
be
something we
true.
hear pretty
It's got to
consistently.
be true, yeah.
When you're taking like large orders,
Well,
definitely,
especially Old Carolina barbecue when you've got like 5
because the
totes,
pans are so heavy.
and they,
Yeah,
and those things have to weigh because there's like I think full pans like beef and
yeah,
pulled
or
pork,
heavier.
they weigh like 20 pounds a piece. So
Mhm.
they put 2 in, and that's like 40 pounds that you have to lug around.
That's why
Yeah.
Penny's in the gym. She's got to go lift
That's
those.
right.
Yes,
Yeah.
Penny's always
Right.
at the gym.
I'm always
Yeah.
at the gym.
No, I would say the wagon is a big help. The biggest thing is when you're first starting out, definitely don't take a large order and then a small one. Take 2 orders together.
Oh,
when
that's a good
one's so
point.
big.
Yeah, and,
Um,
and especially if you're I've had a couple of times where I've done triples at the same time because they're all small orders and coming out of the same like
Store.
BJ's or something.
Yeah.
like
How do you
that.
keep them separated?
Yeah, well, I mean, I make it a point of like, okay, this is this one, and like bring a Sharpie and like mark it in red that this goes here,
Mhm.
this goes there, and this goes.
I just
someplace else.
separate them like I do like front seat. middle
Right.
seat,
Yeah.
front.
That's what I always did too.
Yeah.
Put
That's a
one in the
nightmare
trunk,
when they
one
get
in the
mixed
back
up.
seat. Yeah.
It is
Oh, yeah.
such a nightmare.
It is a nightmare. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I've never done that with Shipt before, but I've never done that with you guys. Yeah.
Absolutely. I've mixed up a shipped order.
You brought somebody the wrong groceries?
Oh yeah.
So so at the height of the pandemic, like when I met her, I was doing 6, 7, 8 at a time. I was using Post-it notes. So there was no ratings, there was no time limits. They were just like, thank God, I don't have to go into the store where all the
Right.
floating around. So I would bring people one or two times. I mix it up, and they'd be like, I didn't order this, and then I'd look back and I would run back and switch it around. So
I've done that.
if I
At least you fixed it.
right, yeah, and nobody
yeah.
was mad. It was like
Yeah.
little stuff.
Yeah.
But
I guess the biggest tip I could give to anybody that's getting into this is that you need to treat restaurants and you need to treat people that you're delivering like you would want to be treated.
Mhm.
Right.
You know, so I would expect that if I'm paying money to, doing a catering order for friends and things like that, that I would want them to be in the best possible shape, and I want it to be good. And if somebody just comes in and kind of like slaps, and I'm not saying that anybody in our business does that, but I've seen people who are just kind of lackadaisical about it, and they just
Here's your stuff.
here's your stuff, whatever. You need to be enthusiastic and be friendly to the people. I mean, I remember there was an order I did over the summer. I told you about the woman that was 89th birthday party for her mom. Yeah, it was outside.
Yeah.
And I make it a point of like finding out who the birthday girl is or who the graduate is, and like go over and like congratulate them.
Yes, she's the poster child for above and beyond.
Hey, we love it. We love
I'm
it.
like, where
we'll
am I
have to
setting
do
up at?
we'll have to do some in the field once summer comes. We're trying to do some more marketing on our end, so we'll do some in the field. Maybe we'll join you on a delivery.
I mean,
or something.
and I've done things
great.
like I'll pick up if I for that particular lady.
She brought her a
I
balloon.
bought her a happy birthday balloon.
Oh
and,
my! Wow.
gave
Right?
it to her.
That was
That's
mine.
pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and
If you guys want to get a gratuity,
Right.
take note.
No, yeah, well, that kind of helps too because that was one of the orders that had no tip. And when I was leaving, the daughter of the birthday girl said, wait a minute, come here. Hand me an envelope. And when I was driving away, I opened it. It's like $100 bill. So
Right.
I
Wow.
don't.
$1 balloon turned into a $100
Yeah.
tip.
Well,
And
I mean,
I
That's
was
like a
darn.
$99 ROI
Right,
right,
but
there.
let me put it
Nice.
this way: I don't do that for that particular, to initiate a tip. I do it because I would want people to do something special for me, and that's just the way I am. But
Right.
She does this for everybody. She showed up at my house Christmas morning with donuts. I'm telling you, it was raining, and she comes running up to the door, and my kids are all like, "Penny's here!" Like they just know.
My
Like,
expectations are so high right now, Penny.
I mean,
I know, I
if she
sent
lived
donuts
out
to you
here,
guys.
she would probably be in here all the time with like, "Oh, here's donuts
We
for you
we
guys."
did just have a driver send us Lou Malnati's from Chicago.
Mhm.
oh, well, that's kind of cool.
Oh.
Yeah, that
That's
was
kinda cool.
very
Well,
nice.
you sent one of them.
I
donuts,
did. I
didn't
sent
you?
donuts to all you guys.
Oh,
at
yeah.
Christmas
Yeah,
That's
time.
the
right.
peace loving
Oh,
little
yeah.
donuts.
Peace loving
I think.
little
Yeah,
donuts.
yeah, I
They
remember
didn't
that.
look like
Those-
they were supposed to.
yeah.
Those were good. That's a good. I was
Those are
excited.
for me.
I was excited when you guys got them because you guys got their contract right when they opened it up in Strongsville, and I was like, "Oh, good." So I've done
Yeah,
a few of those
they're through
deliveries.
Their
Easy
donuts
Cater
are
still, I
so
think.
good.
Yeah.
And I do want to say too, and everything we just touched on is really, I know we talk about how this is like running your own business and everything like that, but the reality of the situation is too, like the things Penny is saying is that reflection of your interaction with those customers. They're probably like 90% of the time, they're not saying like, wow, I had a great DeliverThat experience. They're saying, wow, I had a great Old Carolina experience. I had a great BB Bop experience. I had a
Right.
great Condado
Right.
experience.
How do we change that so they know it's us?
It's a very,
to
very
watch
good
the bag
question.
in their
Yeah.
face.
No.
I am bringing the bag. I'm gonna get one of your shirts so I want the one that says "coming in hot" because
Yeah,
I think
no,
that's the
we-
funniest thing.
There's a guy. Who
Yeah,
designed it.
yeah. Well,
Did you come up with that?
that's the
Yeah.
quiet room. The quiet room we were talking about earlier. He's got the key.
I want one of those,
We
and
can-
I will
we
wear
can
that
probably
every
make
time
it
I do a
happen.
delivery.
Yeah, I mean,
I've never been in there.
You
in the quiet
I
room.
love you.
Yep, never been quiet.
Well, I
here.
kind of thought when I saw that's where they put bad people for a timeout.
At Progressive, we had a room you could nap.
So I've
in.
never
I
been in
thought
there.
That's, what it was.
That's why you've never been in there. That's right.
All right. Well, I think we need to wrap it up here a little bit. But
Mhm.
I don't have much else to say anyway. I think we had a very candid conversation. We didn't even really go off the questions for the most part, which is kind of how I like the conversations going.
Yeah.
It's way more authentic,
Yeah.
way easier to listen to. So, if,
Yeah.
Well, we're Megan and I are a team.
We call us whenever we go on delivery together. We'll be like, "Hi, we're the dream team."
Oh,
Megan and Penny.
We'll title the podcast "Delivering More" episode, whatever, with the dream team, with the
Dream
with
team.
the with the
Well,
NEO dream team.
I
Yes.
gotta tell
Let's
you
do
that
it. That's a good
the
idea.
last time I delivered for Old Carolina Barbecue last week.
Yeah.
The manager there, Jason, who I've become to be.
Yeah,
fond
Jason.
of.
I know Jason.
I've become to, I'm very fond of him, even though I kind of started out a little rough.
I
That's how I
remember.
know she's great.
No,
because
I-
she
I
softened
remember.
him up.
Yeah, so I walked in and he said, there it is, the queen of drivers. And that makes you feel good.
Oh yeah,
Right.
So-
yeah.
yeah. He just understands.
I would
He
say he's not
understands.
wrong, but Megan's sitting right there, and I don't want to cause any tension between you
she's
guys.
We're not close, but
Yeah.
now that she's friends with him, maybe we'll be okay.
Yeah. But can you have two queens? I don't know.
No,
No,
I'm the president.
She's
of
the president
fun.
of fun.
I'm known in other
Okay.
circles as the president of fun. So
Okay.
that
President
she
of
can be
fun. We need a events coordinator here too.
Oh, we
'cause
could do
Dan
that for
Hoffman
ya. I
is
mean-
not the greatest.
The,
Yeah.
oh
Hey,
yeah,
it's a little extra cash.
that's my thing. I do anytime anybody wants to know where to take their kids or what fun event is happening, I'll get a text like, "What do I do for these ages
And
at what
she knows
time?"
everything.
And I'm like, "Okay, here we go." So
Wow.
Amazing. All right. Well,
All right.
Penny, Megan, we appreciate again. It's the first in-person guest interview. So this is the first time we've actually even like set up the set
Mhm.
to have
Oh,
an in-person event. So I mean, hopefully you guys enjoyed it.
Oh,
Hopefully
yeah.
our
I
viewers
we
will have a
did.
great
Thank you
time.
for
and-
having us. We
Yeah.
were so excited to come down. I didn't realize you weren't doing these in person. I watched a few, but I didn't realize you weren't all sitting around.
Yeah, no, you guys are. Our meet the team episodes are obviously because it's the employees
Yeah.
are obviously in office, but you guys are our first in person, other than John and Aaron, which was like our very first episode. Yeah, you
Mhm.
guys are our
Oh,
first
okay. That's
in
one of the ones I
office
watched.
interview. Yeah,
Mhm.
Well, we like to be first.
Right.
Yeah.
if you're not first, you're last.
Yeah.
That's right. Thank you for having us.
Of
Yeah,
course.
we really-
Absolutely.
it's-
Thanks for
it's been-
coming on.
It's been great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you guys so much.
That was fun.
That was great, dude.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily mean it at the time when I said that this was going to be like our favorite interview because it was in person, but like after the conversation, that's going to be tough to beat. I felt like the camaraderie was like top notch. Like we were just
Yeah.
kind of rolling off each other. It was good.
Yeah, it was awesome that they were super comfortable. I thought we got into some seriously like personalized conversations, and hopefully the drivers know that we can relate to them like that as well that are out there listening.
Yeah, I mean, and we touched on a lot of things like DeliverThat related too that have maybe been discussed like in light, but
Yeah.
like we really got into like the tip pool, like other things to do with delivery, and all that stuff. So
Some of the most I want to say hard hitting questions, most frequent questions we get from drivers. There it is, explained in
yeah,
detail.
for sure. Yeah, that'll be a great one. If you are a driver on any platform, specifically the DeliverThat platform, that would be almost like a must watch. We might have to label that must watch.
Yep.
It was good stuff.
NEO Dream Team.
Yeah, NEO Dream Team. But aside from that, we're gonna close out the episode here with another Meet the Team episode, and this is another good one. This is another a big cog in the machine. I'll say, I guess, is what we can call him.
A big cog in the machine.
I think that's the right word. But yeah, he's an OG. I think he's employee number 5. I think I was so we did my Meet the Team will be airing before this one, and we're one out of order. So Christian was actually hired, let me introduce him. Vice President of Operations, Christian Hilty. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having me, guys. Do that little sound effect.
Yeah, we love having you here. Thank you for making the time. Obviously, we had to do some rescheduling to squeeze you in here. So thank you so much for finally making it happen. But like I said, Christian was hired in June of 2018. 2018 was a big year for DeliverThat. We had Darian, Jim, Christian, myself, and Mitch. A 5 hire year. The only other year so far that has had more than that was 2021. We had 6 new hires in 2021. So 2018, a major year. But I want to start from the beginning, like all conversations we had on the Meet the Team. And Christian, you have probably one of the more interesting like beginnings with DeliverThat, and I'll let you touch on it. But to put it in context, you're at Ohio State University, I believe. You're still a student, and we can go from there. Do you want to give us a rundown of what happened?
Yeah, for sure. First, thanks for having me, you guys. I'm excited to kind of talk about my story a little bit and have my first time on the podcast.
Absolutely.
Love what you guys have done so far. So
Thank
excited
you.
to be here. First, I guess, I like you mentioned, I'm a student at Ohio State. It's my senior year, but my fall semester, I guess. And I was doing every hustle I could think of. I was a caddy. I had an internship. I was doing Postmates, Uber Eats, all the food delivery gigs that I could. And there was a gentleman named Travis, I believe, who was running Columbus for DeliverThat at the time.
Yeah, we were still doing like territories.
Yeah, we still had territory managers, so he was running Columbus, maybe another area of Ohio with Dan. But at the time, we're in 4 or 5 markets, Columbus being, I think, the newest one. And we just happened to run into each other at the golf course I was working at, and he was talking to me about my caddy hustle, that kind of stuff. I start talking about Postmates. He's like, dude, if you're doing food delivery and you like that, you have to check out DeliverThat.
Mm-hmm.
Never heard of it, never knew anything about it.
Right.
So I got scheduled on a ride along. I saw a couple episodes you guys have talked about our previous ride along process. But I got scheduled on a ride along thinking that I'm going to meet Travis at this Qdoba location really close to my house. So I showed up. I thought I was going to be on a ride along with a couple of drivers and Travis. And out of nowhere, it's this guy that I've never met before. Come to find out, this is Aaron Hoffman, founder and CEO of DeliverThat. So it was a really cool experience to obviously do your ride along with someone who founded the company. But even bigger, I had no idea until probably all the way through. We did 2 deliveries together. And I think it was after our first delivery, I finally asked him, how long have you been driving for these guys? Because it sounds like a really recent concept. Travis didn't even tell me there was another training driver in the market. How long have you been doing this and driving for these guys? And he was like, oh, I actually founded it in college. And you guys have obviously told that backstory. But immediately my wheels start turning and I'm asking him all the questions that I can. How are you going to expand this to other markets? How'd you get to the markets you're in right now? Who are you delivering for? All these penetrating questions I'm sure he didn't want to talk to some, random college kid about. Mm-hmm. But he was gracious with his time, answered all my questions. We exchanged contact information and stayed in touch up until the day I graduated. And that's where the rubber met the road. He reached out to me, asked me to go out west for those guys, but it was all from that one ride along. I stuck around. I did some monitoring of our logistics software we had at the time. Tried to onboard some new drivers, and when I graduated, I got the call maybe a week and a half after I graduated and headed out west.
Yeah, you didn't know that story.
No, so Travis was Aaron, huh?
Travis was Aaron to me, yeah.
Wow, what a crazy story.
Yeah, I knew that story, but I'm really excited for people to hear it because it's just wild that your first interaction with second technically with the company was with Aaron, and you didn't even know. Similar to what Terry's story. She went on a ride along with John, and had absolutely no idea that he was John, the CEO and founder. So it's just very funny beginning stories where you think that'd be something you tell someone, and they actually have no idea.
Yeah. He definitely didn't lead off with, "Hey, I founded this thing." He waited for me to figure that part out.
That's so cool.
Man, you led into our next segue very, very easily here and alluding to you moving out west. So we'll jump ahead. I think, like you said, maybe a couple months later, a year down the line or something like that. Now you're out in Phoenix. You're living off I believe a stipend, maybe a couple $100 a week or a month or something along those lines, something very minuscule or minimal in total amount. But what are your thoughts? What are your processes? What are you doing out there? And what's your overview of DeliverThat at that point? Because I think, at that point in time, it was almost on a whim, I believe, that you did this and kind of made the move. So what was your line of thinking there, and what's going on in your head with DeliverThat at that time?
Yeah, the crazy thing is that I went out there with we'll get to it, but the people ended up really keeping me on board and keeping me engaged with our platform and our business here. But what got me out to Phoenix was just understanding this is a great business model. They've clearly got some great partners that have helped them scale to a couple cities right now. We have keys to go out west. So my mindset was, how can we do this as quickly as possible? How can we scale as fast as possible? Because I know the idea is sound. I know the business model is going to work. I can tell that this industry is rising. All of those things are my thoughts heading out there. But once you get out there, it's an interesting experience working in a startup environment, working remote. I think it's obviously a big change for everyone that's working remote in any context. But for me, I went out there really only knowing John and knowing Aaron. And when I say knowing them, text conversations, 3 to 4 phone calls. Loosely. So my knowing Aaron and John was very minimal at the time. But yeah, working out there remote, I was really encouraged by the business model, and I was more so just curious. How are we going to scale this into an actual company, into something that's viable, offers drivers opportunities all across the country? But like Ben alluded to, how am I going to scale this company with these guys to a point where I can make a salary or, I can make an hourly wage? Because at the time, like you said, it was just a weekly stipend, $100, $150, somewhere in that range. And then a lot of deliveries, out there.
Make something of income. And I actually, this question wasn't something written down because it just popped in my head as we were talking about it. Working remotely, there can be some miscommunications that happen. Yep. So some things that go haywire. Do you recall the night or the morning, I should say, that you thought you broke or you didn't cancel the deliveries? Do you remember what I'm talking about? Can you speak to that a little bit? What happened and what kind of miscommunications went on?
Yeah, now we're getting into like the retention piece, and when I started to realize that the people we were working with were so special. But I had a situation where I started doing all the night dispatching because logistically that makes sense for your Phoenix person to just get slotted in as the nighttime dispatcher. So I'm doing that, and it's maybe my second day ever doing this. And in your guys' episode with Dan, he talked about it, but he was a territory manager at the time for several markets in Ohio. So he reaches out to me and lets me know I need to cancel 8 deliveries in Columbus, Ohio. And at the time, maybe we're pushing 50 to 80 deliveries a day, right? Pretty modest. So we're talking about canceling almost 10% of what we have on the books for the following day. I go through and cancel these 8 deliveries with no understanding of how the technology works or how things are passed from point A to point B, how everything works through the progression. So I cancel these jobs and not thinking that I need to tell anyone. I don't need to tell our partner. I don't need to reach out to
cleared them out of the
restaurants.
system.
Just get them out of there.
Yeah.
I just canceled them out of our logistics software. And the next day I wake up at 7:30, 8 o'clock my time, and the East Coast is 3 hours ahead.
Yeah, right,
and I just
lunchtime.
see so many messages about we missed another one. And our partners are reaching out, where are these drivers? And we're letting them know we don't see these deliveries. What are you talking about? And as soon as I wake up, first thing I do is take ownership. Guys, this was me. I canceled these deliveries last night. Like, let me know what a mess I created and anything I can do to help. I'm so sorry. Aaron called me within 2 minutes of me posting that message and said, everything's fine. It's new. It's new to you. It's new to us having you work the nighttime. Don't worry about it. We'll get through these. This is just some growing pains. And in my mind, I was like 10% of our revenue. I just flushed it down the drain. How many refunds is this going to result in? How many bad experiences for customers? And it was just a scaling issue and just a manpower problem on my side.
So you're in Phoenix, and like you said, you're not extremely familiar with the people you're working with yet, and you're kind of out there on your own. What keeps you invested? What keeps you driven to make the company be successful?
Yeah, I think there were 2 things going through my head. The first we already touched on is how can we scale this very, very quickly, right? Where another company's not going to come along and replicate us. One of the industry giants not going to hop in and immediately start working on what we're doing. So that kind of led to the 16, 20-hour work days where it's just like, how can we make this perfect as quickly as possible? But the other thing is just the leadership that our team was bringing to the table. At the time, my point of contact was really closely tied with Darian. So in my mind, I'm just treating this like my own business. And step 1 was, how do I get as many drivers as possible in the cities that I'm managing? And then once that was taken care of and I could trust the drivers that were now training the new drivers there, it was, okay, how do we generate more business? Because my role was really territory management. So it was like, how do I drive the revenue now in these markets that I'm watching? So naturally, I go to the salesman, the negotiator himself, Darian Terrell, and he was my point of contact. And he always brought a level-headedness to the situation and always outlined what he saw as the next steps for me to keep growing with our company. And when you have someone hands-on like that, I guess, leading you and keeping you connected to the home front, that's what it ultimately took for success, not only being a remote employee, but just navigating being in a startup. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's his first time in a startup, my first time in a startup. But if you don't have someone that has your back, has your best interest in your career in mind, it's hard to really latch on to a company and feel confident, because no matter how much time or work I put in, no matter how successful the company was being, if I didn't have him as a point of contact during that, it would have been much rougher times. But just having him as a sounding board, having him report what's going on back at headquarters and getting my feedback from, kind of a bird's eye view working remote, that made the difference for me.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fact too. Having somebody have your back makes you more.
Yeah. Yep.
That's a fact.
And I think all of us here are in some capacity, we're attached to the higher vision that is DeliverThat and what we can do for drivers and contractors across the country. But I do think that every person here is pretty closely bonded with 1 to 10 other individuals in this building that you feel accountable to and they feel accountable to you. And that's like the perfect formula. How do we all aim for something bigger, but also hold each other?
And that I have to ask this question. That the one question I wanted to ask you on here was, for me coming in here, you came back from Phoenix. Lo and behold, you show up one day.
Yeah.
I don't even know, but you were my boss.
Yeah.
But throughout the years now of working with you, you've been a great leader and have guided me in the right direction. And I think a lot of us out here feel that way about you. But really, the question I have for you is, for anybody listening, maybe, what do you have to say about leadership? Like, what you do a great job at that. And How can people be better leaders and help mentor and guide the people, if you want to say under them, into success like you have for us?
Yeah, I think for me it comes back to the quote and just taking the fundamentals away from the quote that readers are leaders or leaders are readers. Because for me the real baseline principle to that is leaders are constantly learning. And a lot of, I guess, what has peeked through as leadership from me or leadership from Darian, Aaron, even you guys, has come because we're willing to share the things that we're learning and we're willing to immediately take action on them. There's been so many times where tangibly I've listened to an audiobook one day and the next day executed on the principles in the book, or listened to the book and I didn't have a situation to execute on, but maybe one of you guys did. So then just sharing that information. So for me, and I feel like as a concept for any leader, it's if as soon as you stop learning new things, as soon as you're kind of set in your leadership style or set in your ways, it limits the impact you can have on people. It limits the diversity of your tool set and limits the diversity of just how you approach situations with people. So I think if you're always learning and you're willing and ready to share those principles and concepts that you're learning with other people so that you're retaining it and they're growing with you, I think that makes you as much teammates as, boss, coworker, whatever the title could be on it. And I think the only other factor to it is just really caring about the people that you're working with and caring about the people that you're leading, getting to know them on a personal level, what makes them tick, what are their ultimate goals. Because you can know everything about leadership. If you don't know the person that you're trying to lead, you don't have an avenue to go down, Those would be the two.
And I'm a caveat off that. I know, like you just said, you're a reader. You're always learning. Favorite leadership book? Yeah, I'm on that Audible account. I see you're swiping through them all day, every day. What? Give me, if you can't give me one, give me three. Top three.
Top three. I would do Dichotomy of Leadership. I would do Good to Great, and my last one is Ego-Free Leadership. Those would be the three. I think the Dichotomy of Leadership is one that I would immediately recommend to everyone on a personal level. Learning how to take ownership for things, but also learn when and how to hold other people accountable. And then I think that ego-free leadership does wonders for people who have high skill level and are working on their other stuff about them. You know what I mean? If you're working on the other things to make you a leader that aren't skill-based, that'll teach you how to have the right mind frame going into conversations. And then Good to Great is a great organizational book. So if you're trying to be an organizational leader or you're trying to get a team rallied around something, Good to Great is a good one to read as a company.
Those
great
are
recommendations. Yeah, great. Good stuff. And T alluded to it here. So we're skipping forward a few years. He kind of mentioned you moved from Phoenix, you came back in the office. I think it was end of 2020. Is that about the right timeline? So he
early 2020. Yep.
Right. So he referenced it a little bit, and we're going to kind of just move forward in the questioning since we had that little convo there about the leadership. But now your role within the company, vice president of operations, a lot of the conversations I have with you personally, or I think, the back room conversations you're having with Aaron, with John, with Darian, who just sat down over here, I'm hearing a lot of verbiage like APIs and web hooks. And so we're getting to a lot in a tech world, and you're not really doing a whole lot of coding, but I'm sure you're doing some courses on it in the background. What can tech do to scale DeliverThat into the future? Or what ideals do you have that are really going to, I can't really think of the right word, to promote or push the boundaries of where we are right now?
Yeah, I think tech is going to ultimately be the catalyst for us and a lot of other companies to scale to where we want to go and where other companies need to go right now. And it's a difficult landscape because it's tough to find good talent with architects, with software developers, with people who do coding on a daily basis. So it's an interesting time in the industry as a whole. But for us, for logistic companies like us, I think it all comes down to introducing technology that helps your operation day to day, right? How do you streamline tasks so that we can scale from 500 drivers on the road every single day to 1,200 drivers on the road, 2,400 drivers on the road? How can we, as DeliverThat, maintain our customer service standards while also scaling a massive fleet of drivers and not having to constantly have turnover or hire thousands of CSRs and agents on the floor, right? So with that just comes the cleaning up of processes that used to be manual, and we still want to execute the same call volume. We still want to have that same level of service to our drivers, but make sure that for our agents, it's easier, right? So the name of the game for us isn't outsourcing to a massive call center where we can have access to hundreds or thousands of agents. It's making sure we maintain our fundamentals and our core values towards the drivers while also streamlining our daily processes. The only other thing I can touch to, I guess, for our business is that we want to clean up our processes to make sure we're supporting the drivers better and making our agents' lives easier so that the entire process for everyone is easier and a better experience. But we also want to do things that are driver-centric. So by that, I mean helping the drivers optimize their routes without them having to do so much of the optimization, the mapping on their own, customizing the offers that they're getting, automatically adding deliveries to their routes if it's going to make them great pay and it's going to make sense logistically. So we're very focused on the routing portion of things and the logistics overall when it comes to tech, as well as just, the day-to-day tasks and kind of the cleanup. Because the cool thing about our team is we're constantly learning new skills in the tech space. We're constantly adding to our tech team, so to speak. So it's like the things that we've always wanted to do for the drivers, for our agents, for us, they're now things that are finally opened up to us. Our skills have gotten there. Our team has scaled. So it's how can we do these things we've always wanted to do to make the driver experience that much better and that much easier on the app. We're now finally coming into the era of DeliverThat where we can really deliver.
Oh, yeah. Big years. A lot of
very excited.
Automation.
Automation
would be the key word I would throw in there.
Driver and automation nation. We'll go with both.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what makes it a better driver nation is automation.
That's right. Right. So yeah,
Mark Twain.
I'm excited. That's right.
Oh man.
All right.
Yeah. Let's wrap it up. I don't.
Jim's yelling at us over here. We need to wrap it up.
You have, like you said, I know you've been giddy to get on the podcast and have a sit down conversation here. Do you have anything you'd like to touch on? Let the people hear about the podcast process. Anything you want to ask the hosts? Anything of that nature?
Who's been your favorite guest so far?
Oh boy,
Christian.
Tough
Hilty,
one
for sure.
off the bat.
Nailed it, T.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just said it realistically in our intro to your interview. I think, and simply for one factor, the Megan and Penelope interview we just did, because it was in person, I think it's much easier to promote or like I keep picking the wrong verbs here.
I see what you're saying.
Like to insinuate or create like an easier vibe to like have that conversation compared to doing it over a Zoom call or what we use is Zencasters, our podcast platform, no free ads. But yeah, so to like have that, authentic like camaraderie and nice like vibe between like the core who's having the interview. It was very, very easy to have that conversation with them when they're sitting 5 feet away from us, as opposed to those Zoom calls where you're, like with Mo, he's in Vancouver, which is thousands of miles away. We have people in Dallas, Texas. We've had conversation with people in San Diego, and it's like, well, those conversations are great, good, and we've had amazing conversations, but it's very tough to take out the in-person aspect of the conversation, I'd say.
And you guys kind of got started in a backwards way. You started this in the era of Zoom and of Google Hangouts, Meets, and things like that. So these are kind of some of your first experiences doing them in person, either to meet the team or bringing drivers into the office. So you kind of did it backwards, which is cool.
Yeah, that was actually a big sticking point originally when we wanted to start the podcast, because some of my favorite podcasts I watch are they like the hosts only will do in-person interviews, but obviously they have budgets where they're either flying to the person or flying out the person. And, we're doing whatever you can just to schedule the interviews, let alone getting the person in person. So
we just flew him here from Boston.
He did just hop off a flight yesterday to come here. But yeah, so I mean, I'd say but initially I only wanted to do in-person interviews. That was like a very, very big sticking point for me initially, was I only wanted to have people in person. But obviously, you can only do what you can do.
Yeah. And I think as I've watched some of these virtual ones you guys have done, it seems like it gets better each time, where the camaraderie and the rapport is there, even though you guys are
rapport. That was the verb I was looking for.
All right. Well, Hilty, as we call you here in the office, we really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. Let's chill. Plug. We gotta do one last thing here. Plug the link, ideliverthat.com/podcast. Like, share, subscribe. Let the people know how they're gonna see us, view us moving forward, and then we can close this out.
Awesome. Well, as always, I'll close out like these guys, but you can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. Definitely check out some of the content. TikTok. Big one. New to the scene on TikTok. You can also go to DeliverThat.com/podcast. Leave us any questions. You can find our direct website on there. Ask any questions you want. Get signed up as a driver if you're new to DeliverThat. And yeah, thanks for checking it out.
All right, man. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will see everyone next